Yo, it is yours truly, Lemoi Desina, aka Mr. Kool Spot, here with my lovely co-host today. I got it right this time. Free Sherita. Yo, it is What's up? Uh-oh. I hear feedback. Where's that coming from?
Uh-oh. My Facebook.
You got it right this time. Free Sherita.
You
turn it on. Uh-oh. I hear feedback. Where's that coming from? That's not me.
My Facebook.
You got it right this time. Okay. We got a little bit of playback. We're trying to figure that out real quick. That's not me.
Hey.
You still there?
Yep. Hey.
What
That's on your side, boy.
That's on my side. Where's it coming from?
I don't know, because that's why I took both of us off the screen at different times so I could try to triage where it was coming from on the backside.
See how crazy this is? I'm telling you, everything has been like, wow.
Weird.
That is weird, isn't it?
I don't even have Facebook open up, y'all. Whoever emojis, that's exactly how we feel.
I'm trying to see if I have it open anywhere else. I don't have it open anywhere else. It's not in the background. None of my phones here. Oh. Hold on. Let me close out all my apps on my phone. I might be picking it up somewhere. I don't know.
I just did the same thing too.
Yeah. Y'all excuse me.
Y'all. I'm gonna go and come right back in just to make sure it's not me on my side, and I'll be right back, y'all.
All right.
I'm gonna go and come right back in.
Now I may have to do the same thing when she comes back in. When I tell you guys, my camera's not even working. Who laughing? Who was that laughing? My camera's not even working right now. Same thing when she comes back in. I tell you guys, my camera's not even working. Hey, listen to that. Who laughing? Who was that laughing? My camera's not even working right now. Same thing when she comes back. You know what though? My YouTube is open. My camera's not even working. Hey, listen to that. That's what it is. I'm sorry, that was me. I had my YouTube running because I had my YouTube running, y'all. That's my fault. That was on me. That's on me, baby. And I'm sorry. We got it right, though. We got to just exit out of that. Free can come on back on now. She must be troubleshooting on her side. We getting it together, yo. We getting it together. But yeah, my camera stopped working with the computer for some odd reason. That was me, Free. I had my YouTube tab open on my laptop. I'm sorry.
I know. Look, when I took myself out, I was like, I still hear it, but I'm gonna go all the way out. Then it made me get a code to sign back in. I said, oh, they really trying it today.
Right. So that's me. I'm sorry, everybody. That's my dupes. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But when I say that it's been challenging since we've been trying to launch this thing for the past 10 minutes or so. My computer acting stupid, my camera's not working, so you're getting a different quality, different point of view right here. But we're gonna have fun though. We're gonna have fun like we always do. All right. Yeah. So Free, how you doing today? Free, you been good?
I've been good. It's been a busy day, a good day. I got to see my niece and nephews. My daughter got to hang out with 7 of her cousins, and nice. I'm their auntie. I'm like, everybody, come on, let's go to the house.
Right.
You know, the kids need some type of normalcy, through COVID, and of course, trying to make sure everybody, nobody's been just out doing anything crazy. Just letting them have that bit of normalcy.
Right.
So it's been good. I got time with my babies, and because being that I don't teach and I went to school for teaching, I still love kids. So being able to have kids around, it's a joy in my day. So
I get you.
Hang out.
Okay.
And then today, because of our topic, I don't know if y'all know it yet. So I'm just gonna drop it at the bottom, y'all. It's a topic that I think that it's a topic that a lot of times we shy away from as adults, and we shouldn't. But before we jumpstart into that, I think it's important for us to acknowledge a couple things. Okay.
Yeah.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a friend that recently kind of shared something with me that might be a plight that they're dealing with, and we'll know a little bit more in the upcoming week. But let's just keep those in mind and uplifted.
Yeah.
And also, it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And
Yes.
near dear to my heart, especially having personal, close sisters of mine going through it. It affects everybody you're around.
Right.
And so I think it's something we can't go without talking about it. And a lot of times it ties back into sex too. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
can
So,
use it later.
we're gonna attack that. We're gonna unpack that. We're gonna unpack that. And I just want to say really quick, dealing with the domestic violence thing. If any of you guys have gone through that and have been scorned by it, and it caused you to be somebody that you don't want to be, I think the first thing is acknowledging that first. You know what I mean? Because we all strive for something. And although you guys know, me and Free are believers, but this will not be a religious conversation, right? It's not
Right.
a religious conversation by far. This will be raw and uncut. But I bring that up. Because no matter what one's belief is, I definitely believe that we have to believe in something. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not going to try to shove what I believe down your throat if that's not your thing. But if you guys want to have a discussion about it, I'm always for it, or a debate. I'm always down for that too, right? But if I think it's important that everybody has something to believe in for a few reasons. For the first reason, I think, is because there's always a caricature of a person of importance in everybody's belief, right, or faith. You know what I mean? And whatever that thing is, or that person is, I feel like it's important to study that person, because everybody yearns to have a closer connection with the higher power, the higher being, the most high, right? And through that, we found the connection that we have with that main source and what we believe. It kind of draws us back to that higher being that we're searching after. You know what I'm saying? So for somebody to say, I don't believe in anything, then what is it that you're trying to model? Where do you get your level of standards from? We can say, yes, nature, everything, but everything nature doesn't reflect characteristic traits. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important that we find something to believe in. Again, just want to throw that out there, but we just want to say that we love you guys. You're not in it by yourself. There's help. And if there's anything that you guys have dealt with that caused you to acknowledge, the first step is acknowledging where you are. And if you're not who you want to be, then acknowledge that and seek out for some help. You know what I'm saying? I think that's important. Seek for help. There's help out here for stuff like that, for trauma. I'm really big on, I'm really big on traumatic issues and overcoming traumatic issues and stuff like that. So we're going to get into some really good in-depth conversations about sex and how that affects us positively and negatively. You know what I mean? So, but before we go in there, being that we're still talking about domestic violence. Oh, before that, let me plug this real quick. If y'all ain't noticed, you know what I mean? X backwards, right? So this is one of our t-shirt line. This is on the t-shirt line for the picturesque, right? Urban clothing or attire. Free got her jacket, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And people gotta remind you that you need to stop going backwards.
I know, right? And I think this could also be something that you could look at from a spiritual sense too. It's almost like reading the Bible, right? Whenever somebody reads it, one person may get a different interpretation than the next. You know what I'm saying? So whatever that means to you, whatever X backwards or the not going backward, the circle in the backwards crossed out, whatever that means to you guys, run with it. You know what I mean? Be ye empowered so we could constantly move forward. Not saying that relationships can't be mended or past relationships or past hurts or anything like that. I feel like it's important that we definitely go back and fix past issues, of course. But again, learn when enough is enough. You know what I'm saying? So whatever that means to you guys, definitely take it and run with it. Check us out, picturesqueurbanstore.com, and we up there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
backwards.
So Free.
Yes.
I don't think a lot of our followers know that you're also an artist. You a dope poet. You know what I'm saying? You a dope poet. Somebody that I definitely admire, and somebody that I definitely look up to when it comes to the world of poetry and how you put your words together. I'm big on words. So you have a piece that you shared with me last week. I thought was phenomenal. You have two pieces, actually. We're going to start off by doing one piece, opening up, and then we'll do another one in closing. All right. So at this time, just, take it and run with it, sis. Take it and run with it.
All right.
Hold on. Now, before you say that, now again, this is raw and uncut, so you guys are getting the
Trigger
raw.
warning. Trigger
Yeah,
warning for anybody that deals with domestic violence or
yeah,
who might be affected by this. If
yes,
it's gonna bother you, please, check out for about 3 minutes. It's not that long, but it is definitely a trigger warning. Okay.
yeah. It's going to be some triggers, and this is going to be raw essence, y'all. So this is who we are. All right.
Okay. It's always been about what he says. I love you because you're different. He says, I'll never hurt you. I'll keep you safe. He says, I'm sorry for cheating, but you didn't support me. He says, I swear I didn't mean to hurt you. He says, it won't happen again. He says, I'm sorry for hitting you. It was the alcohol. He says, tell them that you ran into a wall. He says,
Mm,
I love you because you understand. He says, I'll never leave you. I need you. He said, it's not my fault. He said, it's your fault the baby died. He said,
mm,
you're not worth it. He says, I'll take our son. He says,
mm,
you want to die? He says,
mm,
you're mine for life. He says, I'll kill you if you try to leave. He says, because he loves me and you understand. He says, I love you because you're different. I didn't mean to choke her that hard. He says, I didn't mean to leave so fast. He said, are you sure that she's dead? He says, I didn't mean to. He says, but she brought it on herself. He says, and now she is dead. He
mm,
says, but she's mine forever. He says, never
mm.
to be loved by anyone again. He says, but no one ever asked how I felt. See, he loved me enough to protect me from the outside world, but not to protect me from himself. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, dealing with him was like a motherfucking ride, an emotional roller coaster. And when we were at our peak, it was euphoric. But when we hit the low, I damn near lost my life for it.
Mm.
But no one ever asked how I felt. And when he loved me, he loved hard. But when he hit me, he hit harder. And when we lost our daughter, my tears did nothing but add to boiling water, the water that we used to burn our skin to know how I felt within. But no one ever can ask how I felt. Torturing me mentally and physically, breaking me down with the intent of building me into an image, but not to get too much attention.
Hmm.
I see a future with you. He convinces me with eyes wide shut from an unprovoked beating. Your friends don't love you like I do. He whispers to keep us from meeting, but no one asked how I felt. He was gifted with the art of manipulation, and I was his muse, but catch
Hmm.
motherfucking 22. I lost
Hmm.
not only my life, but the ties with my toxic he. But no one asked how I felt. See, this peaceful afterlife came with a price. Motherless children lay on sidelines. Listen. If you can hear me, please reach down and find your war cry before casualty equals mortality. LEABE, and just call me.
Yeah.
877997233. I'll keep you safe. Just dial. See, this afterlife can wait. There's additional time, new moments to treasure, further time to enjoy. One foot in front of another. Please seek refuge and leave.
Mm.
Last diary entry. Thank you.
Mm. Yeah. It's powerful, man. And I think again, when we're going to get into this talk, man, because I think all of this is going to tie back into each other. I love that piece because it's real, it's relevant, it's what real people go through. Like, yes, hopefully this didn't trigger anybody. And prayerfully, this entire build will help somebody, you know what I'm saying, overcome some issues or even just help acknowledge where you are with self, so we can grow together, So today's topic is the power of sex. Let's talk about sex today. Free, you ready?
Let's talk about sex.
And again,
it's so freaking taboo. Like people feel like adults, if it's in a non-sexual manner, like if you're not sexual counterparts, you can't discuss that.
can't discuss
And I
that.
think that's the furthest thing from the truth. Like anybody that truly knows Lemoi and myself know that we are siblings, okay? Like my mom, like him and GS, like my mom was like, oh, those are my other sons, okay?
Yeah, straight up.
Like it is a sibling bond. And I talk to either one of them. I talk to them about anything. Like I was like, Lemoi, look, I got a question. I feel like this. What you think the guy feel, or that whole build. But we're able to take it a step further, and I think this sparked because Me and Lemoi were talking about acting in your lower self versus
Mm,
acting in your higher self. Okay, those vibrations. And
mm.
you know, a lot of times for some folks, we're like, oh, that's taboo. I mean, like, what, you talking about something ritual? Like, what are you talking about vibrations? And
Oh,
so,
right.
this conversation we gotta have
We gotta
about
add
it.
this. Yeah. We
Let's
gotta
talk
talk
about
about
it.
this.
On it. Let's talk about it.
We're gonna talk about this. So the few questions that we have on the schedule for today, some of the topics and discussions we're looking at is what are the emotional ramifications that comes with sex, right? Number two is what would life look like if sex was controlled? Number three is what is the difference between sex and love? You know, and these are important to ask, and I think they're valid. I mean, won't you agree, Free? These are
Yeah,
valid.
they're definitely valid.
Yeah. And the reason why I wanted to have this discussion was because, yeah, I'm pro-black. I love everybody, but I love my people first. And I'm sure Free can contest to that. And we're both like same spirits, right? Like spirits. And if we can help anybody with anything, we're teachers. We love to explain. We love to help. We love to try to make sense of things. Like we're one and the same, you know. But my claim in this right here and why it's important to me is because we're going to do this for our people first. I feel like this is the claim. The miseducation of sex has been the biggest cause of the downfall in the black community. That's my claim. You know what I'm saying? And I know that some people are like, well, wait a minute now. Wait a minute. Okay, well, let me unpack that for you, right? And so the ramifications of being ignorant of the power of sex, like I found out that there's 5 things that I've come across in my research here within the past few days, right? And it goes like this. The first thing that I found was the inability to complete what we've started. That's one thing, right? That's first. Number 2 is uncontrolled aggression. You know, Free opened up with that beautiful poetry piece about domestic violence, and we get that. And prayerfully, that pulled on some heartstrings. You know what I'm saying? That definitely touches me every time I hear it. The third thing is a lack of ambition, right? Fourth thing is failed marriages and relationships. The fifth thing is the lack of spirituality. Now, when I talk about spirituality and sex, I'm not talking about the free love era where everybody holding up peace signs or, you know what I'm saying, or that bang, bang, bang like Pops on Friday. We ain't talking about all of that. You know what I mean? But we're gonna break this thing down. All right. So a key word that I want to keep on the forefront of this entire conversation is transmutation, right? Or transmute energy, right? And a transmutation is the changing or transfer of one element or energy into another form, or from a physical expression to another desire, right? I need y'all to catch that because we're going to build on that through this entire talk, right? So let me give you a scenario. Women in leverage. This is a conversation me and Free had earlier, right? And I was telling her how women by default have leverage over men, right? And because of what traditions have taught along the lines, right? So traditions teach, okay, well, you a female. A real woman don't chase. It's a man's job to chase, which I totally agree with, right? But let me give you the leverage, the pros and cons to that on both sides, right? So the pros, so how it works is because by default, women are not chasers, right? By default, it's an unconscious learned behavior that they hone into this transmutation process that we're talking about today, right? So a woman, a female, they're more organized, they're more structured. Women tend to follow through with completing what they've started versus a man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at the psychological part of all of this and also the neuroscience in all of this too, right? So a female versus a male in their level of completion and their the way that they complete their tasks and their objectives. I feel like the women have leverage because of how they were brought up. So all this plays a part, right? And I also believe that the woman's frontal lobe is also developed before the males. Be also, well, you gotta, I guess, not just limiting it to the X and the Y chromosome, but I also believe that that we also have to look at this sex transmutation process that women by default fall into. And I question the X and Y chromosome theory because we all know 100%. Well, it's not 100. It's not at 100% where all women, their frontal lobes mature before the male. We know that. And if that's not at 100%, then we got to go back and we have to question it. You know what I'm saying? So there has to be a process that's also incorporated in that until that point of fully being developed. You know, free on mute, free. So there also has to be a process that comes along with that, with the whole development process. You know what I'm saying? So
Correct.
men on the other hand, right? You know, we're taught like, yo,
Mhm.
man, look, you got to get out here and chase that tail, bro, to prove yourself, right? That's what,
Right. Sow those wild oats is the direct
right.
quote the church folks like to give. Men can sow their wild
Yeah,
oats, but women, we're supposed to harness ourselves. We're supposed to not just overshare ourselves.
yeah.
Yes, we can. We can show. Look, my sister is in the background. She's like, we can't sow the wild oats.
No, we can't share a while.
We
No, yeah.
can, but the way we're brought up is to kind of like what the old folks say, girdle
Yeah,
yourself.
gird yourself.
Um, so women, we're taught to do that, right? So in this process, we're learning self-control. We're not learning that we can just harness that energy and just go book wild, right? It's like girls don't do that morally. Like, oh my gosh, that is
Right.
taboo.
Right.
So we're taught, we're raised to be nurturers and to not overindulge. Whereas men, they're taught, hey, sow your wild oats.
Yeah, it's
You
overseas.
technically, the woman brings the baby home. Not saying that you can't help make one,
Mhm.
but the process is a little bit different. So they're
Yeah.
told to, oh, you ain't gotta just go fall in love. Go have fun first.
Yeah, yeah.
You come back to figure out what it is that you want.
Right. Right. And these are the things taught by traditions and society.
Right.
You know, society teaches us these things. Like even if you think about growing up in the hood, like I'm from the hood, right? And like even if you think about growing up in the hood, and I laugh, I don't laugh, but I kind of smirk a little bit when it comes to society, the music industry, and everything is geared back towards the hood, as if being in the hood is the popular thing or the popular place to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of marvel a little bit at that because people in the hood are trying to get out of the hood, right? But society is giving the reverse narrative where they're presenting it as if the hood is the place to be. You see what I'm saying? But if you think about the hood mentality, I'm from there, and I can speak on this, right? If you think about the hood mentality, the main thing in the hood mentality is that like life doesn't have any meaning. There is no purpose in life. Now, not to say that people don't have dreams, goals, and ambitions, because they do. I think what's lacking is the know-how, like how to apply yourself to come out. You know what I'm saying? And being dedicated to that. You know, and if there's no dedication to that, then something went wrong somewhere. You know, the hood mentality is sex, money, and drugs. You know what I mean? All of those things, right? All of those things keep you at a lower frequency. And that's the thing that I feel like we have to be mindful of. So coming from the hood, it's like sex is king. You know what I'm saying? So if
on the flip side of that, right? Coming from the suburbs,
yeah,
that dream, right? That they still, that is like poverty and this joy or this confidence of being from the hood is something that it's just like, oh, well maybe that's what I need to look for, and then I can fulfill that person. It's that nurturing spirit of like, well, I can help. You know what I'm saying? I can be down, or like the whole like down ass chick syndrome.
Yeah.
I think that that's a real thing as well.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It really is. And again, like people from the hood are trying to come out of the hood. But I brought that up because again, sex is king in the hood. So I may not be able to write well or speak well or be amongst the affluent or anything like that. But one thing about me though, talking about the hood mentality, is sex is king. So if I'm not good at anything else, I can pride myself off of that sex game. And that's how it works, right? And if you think about how, again, society, what they flip and turn and switch the narrative to try to make it pleasing to the eye or appealing to the eye, is that the society will show it like, well, hood dudes are the dudes to run to. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have a lot of people not throwing no salt in the game, hood brothers, because this is his honesty. You know what I'm saying? But
talk about
it. We're gonna be honest here. You know what I'm saying? But hood dudes are lifted on a pedestal, and it's kind of like it's if they run, people would tend to run into people with that kind of mentality. And again, we talk about the lower frequency. You brought it up earlier, right, Free?
Mm-hmm.
You brought up the lower frequency and the higher frequency. And this is a conversation I also had with my daughter. And I was telling her, I said, you know, you can actually, if you don't know who you are, what end up happening is you end up settling for anything that comes. You know what I mean? So the more that you work, the more that you realize how much you're worth. So self-value is found in what you're able to do for yourself, and how much of that is laying within your capacity. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't know who you are, and you're not pursuing anything, then you can run into a relationship where, because you're on a lower frequencies, in other words, only represents a place of potential. You see what I'm saying? So if you're operating off of a place of potential, then you're only operating off a lower frequency. Then what does that look like? Well, things sound good. I can tell you about my dreams and vision, but I don't have any game plans to execute. You know what I'm saying? But I'm okay with where I'm at on the flip side, because this is just where I'm at, and I'm okay with that. You know what I'm saying? So if somebody else comes along in the picture while you're operating on those lower frequencies, and then you tend to find yourself later on, what end up happening is there's going to become some friction. If that other person that you found is in a place of contentment while you're seeing growth and operating off of a higher frequency, then that's where the contentions happen, right? There's going to be some friction and a separation that's going to eventually take place, because you're going to start operating off of a higher frequency where you're starting to apply yourself and put things into perspective and get the game plan together, while the other person is just like, yo, I mean, I'm good here. You know what I'm saying? And still on that lower frequency, and you're constantly advancing. So if you don't know who you are, things like that could take place, and that also cause hardship and hurt, pains. You know, we talk about this sex thing, you know what I'm saying? And then you also have
somebody said truth.
Right.
That's some truth right there.
She said some truth.
It's on my Facebook watch party, so it's separate. I can't post it.
Okay,
yeah. I keep looking to the side if you see me like.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing too on top of that, I want to throw before we move on, because we're gonna talk about controlled sex next, right? The other thing, we're gonna try to keep this within an hour. We're gonna try to, because we have some things up and coming after this show that we got to attend to. But the other thing too I want to throw into that is understanding that if you have a friend that knows you, you know, if you have a friend that you've known for some years, let me put it this way. You got a friend that you've known for some years. Y'all have known each other. You guys consider yourselves best friends, but there's a separation that takes place. In that separation that takes place, that person doing their own thing, and they have their own processes where they're doing their own advancements in life for them and their families, and you're doing the same thing on your side. Now, if the separation takes place and the connection is still there, but you're not talking as frequently, then you'll tend to find that you will have your own path and that person will have their others. Now, somewhere along the line, it happens where one person will feel like, well, I know this person based off of what I remember 5, 6, 7 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Without even taking it into consideration that, yo, I went through my own process. There's a possibility that this person went through their own process as well, right? So what happens is people will tend to think that they know you and put you in positions and put you in positions where it's kind of like it derails you, or it'll cause you to be sidetracked in your own walk in your own life, that'll set you back more. You know what I'm saying? If we don't understand who we are, right? So again, we're going to go back to this whole sex thing, because I think that the best way to find a person's the better self of, how am I trying to word it, Free?
The best way to find the depth of a person.
The depth of the person.
The depth of the person.
Right.
Is when you look at the start to finish of, I don't want to say the hunt, right? But it is essentially.
That's what it is.
Right? The process that it takes, or the steps that are taken from the initial thought of wanting to be intimate with someone to the actual conception of the intimacy, right? The manifesting of it, right?
Right.
That process will show you a lot about the character of the person. If it's just a, like, hey, yeah, I just want to do it. Or if it's a, I'm a show that I understand your worth to get to it.
Right.
Right. So it's a process and the way we do it. Because, for instance, if you know that you are interested in someone, right? You might be bashful, you might be shy, you might feel like, well, I'm not there yet. There's something I have to build up to, right? So when building that, you're building courage. You are learning. Well, I might have to speak up for myself. I might have to do something I might not be used to.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're getting outside of your comfort zone, and all those things build on the way that you act. Now, we're not talking about keeping the act alive. We're just talking about the point of getting there, right? And
Right.
all of those things still revert back to the energy that you use to get there.
Right.
Because anything that we do takes some type of energy, right? Some type of draw, some type of get up and go. A lot of times people say it's some type of hunt.
Yeah.
And all of that is energy.
Yeah.
Was that kind of what you're trying to say, Lemoi?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to. You got it.
All right, I didn't want to go on a rant. I was like, let me stop.
No, you're good, because we touched on it earlier. And I kind of got lost in my thoughts with the last part. But no, I think, again, like, so going back to the transmutation, right? Let me calm down a little bit, because I kind of went on the rant the last time. So let me, but so going back to the transmutation, or the transmute energy, the process, right? Controlled sex. I believe, I also believe that you can find the best in a person, or you can actually find the best in a person by the way him or her, or by the way that they pursue sex. I guess there's no other way to put it. There's no nice way to try to sugarcoat it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So the pursuit of sex. So the pursuit of sex actually bring the best out of a person. And I say this in a way not to say that constantly be in pursuit of sex. That's not what I'm saying, right? What I'm saying is there's a lot that goes on in the psyche when it comes to the pursuit of sex. You know what I mean? And if you want to know the best side of yourself, the best version of yourself, then watch how you process and how you change up to try to make sure things happen in your pursuit, if that's your path or your journey, right? So let me give you a scenario, right? A little bit of neuroscience, right? So the mind is a problem-solving machine, right? I need y'all to get this, right? So the mind is a problem-solving machine. And what it means is whatever vacancy is in the mind, it has to be occupied with something. You see what I'm saying? So think of it like a river or a stream, right? It's just we can equate that to sexual energy. It's a form of energy that can't lay dormant. Is what it really is, and it has to be occupied by something. So the moment a person perceives a thought, right? And we talked about this in a different manner in a different podcast. When a person conceives a thought, from the time that that thought is conceived and the time they take action is called a refractory period. The mind takes a snapshot of that, right? So when the mind takes a snapshot of that, what happens is it begins to process that snapshot. So it can come from a place of fear, it can come from a place of worry, it can come from a place of excitement. That snapshot can come from anything. You know what I'm saying? And that's how memories are formed, right? This is some neuroscience, right? So
not to look a nerd, but it's a good thing now.
It's a good thing. It's good to be a nerd.
Black nerds.
So check this out, right? So this is what happens. So when the snapshot is formed, if you personally feel like this is something that can actually fill a void, right? That you can use to fulfill a void in yourself, the mind begins to process that thing. You see what I'm saying? Because again, whatever vacancy in the mind, it has to be filled with something. So if you place that vacancy with fear, then that's what the mind functions off of. If you place that vacancy with some form of excitement, joy, anything that's going to manifest something positive for your future, then that's what the mind focuses on, right? So check this out. So what happens when energy is transmuted in the process of the pursuit of sex is this. You have in-depth thought process, right?
Okay.
This is what I'm talking about, where you can find the best of yourself, right? The in-depth thought process, high frequencies and high level of imaginations, right? You have courage and strength, and even a high IQ. You know what I'm saying? So a higher IQ, I mean to say. So check this out. A story that I want to share with you guys dealing with my daughter, because she has a friend, right? She has a guy friend, and they're not dating, but she has she had a mixture of different types of friends and everything, which I love. And I think like, yo, that's phenomenal. But the thing that I laughed about was that I thought, you know, with no offense, that the guy was gay. You know what I'm saying? So she's like, nah, but he's not gay, Dad. He just don't talk about girls. That's not his focus right now. You know, so I thought about it and I'm like, yo, I said, so what's his goals? She said, well, he wants to be a surgeon. So I'm like, oh, and he's not talking about girls either. And she's like, nah, he's about to go off to college or whatever, you know. I'm like, man, that's great. Like, if you're, I think he's 18 or 19. I'm like 19. I'm like, if you're 19 and you're not talking about sex and you're solely fixed on becoming a surgeon in school and like your future, I'm like, yo, that's tapping in, right? That's a prime example. So I asked her some questions. I said, so he must be really smart. She said, yeah, like I said, he's focus driven, like he's goal driven, like he's strictly about his future and his plans. Like he didn't really hang out much either, does he? She's like, nah, every now and again he'll come out, we'll go skating or whatever with the crew or whatever. I'm like, word, that's dope. And she's like, yeah, he wants to be a surgeon, he's going to school for whatever. And I'm like, man, like those are the kind of people that you need to stay close with. You know, because you'll always find inspiration coming from those types of people. And that's yeah.
Let me do a takeaway from what you're saying.
Okay.
So what you're saying is once you have this, when you're in the pursuit, right? And you have the sexual energy or the interest, right? Your mind is heightened. And there's different things that you can access. You can access more creativity, you can access different things.
Yeah. So, imagination. Yeah.
When you go into just going into it for sex and pain and you stop using that energy, then that's potentially acting in the lower self. Because you start using it and you're not allowing yourself, that's like he was talking about this young man, how he's not focused on women. Not saying he's not attractive, he's not focused. So he's choosing to use that energy. He's harnessing that sexual intention and accessing a separate portion of his brain that's accessing the creativity, that's accessing the strict focus on one thing. He's able to harness in and say, no, I'm focusing on this. That's the real power portion.
That's the real.
So when he's talking about you can learn about a person and specifically what they're about, it's a difference when the pursuit is just to access that versus it being a pursuit of the whole person. Because the whole person pursuit is going to be levels, right? So for someone to truly build and know you, it's like, okay, well, I have to get to know this person. I need to spend time. Or I need to be able to I need to be able to see what they like. So now I gotta have conversations. It's showing you that
and it places you in a place of genius. It places you in a place of being a genius. That's how geniuses think. Like some people, and this was the other thing I told my daughter about him. I said some people are innately born with that ability. That's a gift. You know what I mean? Like some people naturally born with that. Like you think of the nerds, you think of the geeks. People think, oh, well, a nerd or a geek is somebody that wear the glasses, you know, that wear the hijack pants with the, you know, the suspenders. And nah, like you have, go ahead, Free.
I got my glasses, right?
Go ahead, Free.
Yeah,
you're good. But some people think that that's how you identify a nerd or a geek, and that's the typical. That's how people look at a geek. You know what I'm saying? There's a stigma, right? So, but people that are considered geeks are the people that takes their time and they process things and they try to follow through with every thought. Like there's no stone left unturned. You know what I'm saying? Like once they put their hands to something, their job and their objective now is to complete that task. You know, and I feel like going back to what I said initially with my claim, dealing with the Black community and also understanding the being ignorant to the powers of sex is the difference between us and the white communities is that, for one, the white communities and other cultures, white communities, the Chinese, they teach their kids firsthand. If you put your hands to something, you got to finish that. You know what I mean? You're held accountable. You're now held accountable for whatever it is that you want to do. You got to walk this thing all the way through. You know what I'm saying? And I think that puts people at a leverage when it comes to life. which is also a reflection of what the mindset does, or and how we become if we actually harness the powers of this sexual energy, transmutation.
So what you're saying also in, like, because now that we're talking about the cultural aspect, a lot of times once we receive the prize, we're done, right? We don't have that seeing the end result of building with someone, right? Or potentially seeing something beyond, I'm just supposed to get it, conquer it, and I'm done. I'm on to the next thing.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think going back, that's what it all boils down to, man. And it's something that we have to be mindful of, because again, there's great powers. And of course, like Paul said in the Bible, he's like, look, if you're gonna be out there, paraphrasing, right? I'd rather you guys be like me. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna be out there just messing around with anything, you know what I'm saying? Because there's a mindset that comes with being pure in spirit. You know what I mean? It's not just a spiritual thing, but it's also a physical thing. So transmutating energy doesn't necessarily mean that it's a religious thing. It's a spiritual thing above all else. So it applies to all faiths. You don't even have to be a believer. This is a universal principle and universal law, right? That if we tap into it, then we'll also understand that we can get so much more accomplished in life if we just hold this place of pureness. You know what I'm saying? So it's a spiritual thing. You know what I'm saying? And I really do believe that there's a lot of aspects to it. We may have to do a part 2 of this because we're trying to keep it under it, or at least about an hour. So we got like 15 more minutes, right? So but we may have to do a part 2 of this because there's so much more that's tied to it. But so dealing with the spiritual side of it, matter of fact, let's ask the question, since we got like 15 more minutes, right? Let's ask the question. What is the difference between love and sex? What's the difference between love and sex? How do we interpret that?
You want free answer?
Yeah, what's free?
Yeah, for y'all that know me on a personal level, okay, I am an open book. I'm not a person that shies away from any conversation about anything. Okay.
Yeah. What's the difference? The
difference between love and sex, I think, is sex is something that is temporary, right? It's a temporary feeling. It's a temporary sensation, and then it flees. It's not something you can sustain long term. Okay, you can't sustain sex for a whole day. It just won't happen. Multiple rounds or whatever, but not actually that one act. Love is something that's forever flourishing and growing until we decide that we don't want to love anymore.
Yeah.
So love is never ending. So if I'm to say that I love someone, I always grow to love them more, right? Or to love them differently. As in, whether it be siblings, you know what I'm saying? As you grow and you like different things, like, if I know, like, when I go for Christmas, my brother likes this certain thing, and I see it in the store, okay, I'm gonna go get it because that's my brother's new thing. But if I love someone and I'm growing, even if I see something that they're lacking in, I am trying to see where we can assist one another. So it becomes a depth that is no longer just physical, but mental, emotional, and because when you love someone, you know what I'm saying, God is love. So when you're loving someone, you're also reflecting that light of God or the higher being that you agree with, but you're hitting a different level.
Yeah. And I totally agree, man. I would say that sex is an emotional drive, while love is spiritual. You know what I'm saying? Because I throw it out there like that because if you notice how we mature when we're in love, like if it's true love, like if you found that person that you can build with, you can face demons with, you can go through your ups and downs with, like, and they're there through the hardship, like from the dirt, to the mansion. You can find somebody that's willing to stick that out with you. Like, you got a gem, man. You have something right there. You know what I'm saying? And like, again, like we tend to mature when we find real love. You know what I'm saying? It's a spiritual thing, right? So people tend to accomplish more while they're in loving relationships versus just a sexual situation. Just because, like, we may be in a so-called relationship, but that could be strictly sexually based. and there may not be any strong conversations or communications that's tied to that. So what about when things fall apart? What about when a hardship comes? I say spiritual because I said this before, but I'm using it differently now. When I say spiritual, because remember, the first step into spirituality is walking into that. Is the first step into spirituality is having faith in something. That's how I'm trying to say it, right? So the first step into spirituality is having faith in something. So if I have somebody that I'm with, and I say that I love this person, and that means that I have faith in this person, right? And if I have faith in this person, then that faith has to be tested, you know. And I always share it, like a lot of us go through life without experiencing what spirituality is. So how do we identify what love is if we've never experienced the true essence of spirituality, right? So I put it this way, because if the faith is there, we are now in a spiritual realm together. I'm not just walking in this by myself. We're in this together, right? And if we're in this together, then what we have together has to be tested. So when that test come, how do we handle that? Or did we expect that? Can we see that coming? Now, if we understand spirituality, that should be first thing that we talk about. That's why I say marriages fail, relationships fail. We fail in the Christian community because we don't understand the financial, the financial realm and how that's tied to spirituality. How to set goals for yourself, how to think for yourself, and have your own relationships and your own experiences. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of that is spiritual. You know what I'm saying? So if we're living life waiting on somebody else to give us the answer, and we're not seeking for it ourselves, then we've lost. It's a losing battle. There's really nothing else to it. You see what I mean? So if the spiritual side comes with what comes spiritual, comes spiritually. This is what comes in spiritual comes spiritual attacks. Is how I'm trying to say it. So again, if we walking into a relationship, we say we have faith, hardship comes, you totally go left, I totally go right. It only meant that we didn't see it coming. That's really all it meant. You know what I mean?
We weren't buckled down for it. We weren't prepared. We're unequally yoked, because if we're on a level where we're saying that, hey, we're ready to take this to another level, right? If we pursued each other, we've had this pursuit, we've built, we've learned,
right?
We get there and we can't fulfill that, and that's when we break.
Yep.
And if you're not spiritually even, we're at a point to recognize what's an attack and what's just something that we can fix, and it's so much smaller than we think.
Yeah.
We want more.
Yeah, because again, it's bigger than just sex in relationships. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the misconception. That's the idea. Again, going back to the hood mentality. In the hood, society is now converting the minds of the masses because they want everybody to convert to the hood mentality. Like, we're already suppressed in the hood, and society trying to lead people back to the hood. Why is that? It keeps us at a lower frequency. Not saying everybody in the hood operates off a lower frequency, but what I'm saying is there's a mindset that comes with being content versus somebody that's really hungry and that's willing to put in that pain and that work to fulfill, you know what I mean? So if I'm in a situation where it's strictly about sex, there's no spiritual connection to that really. Now, we can talk biblically where it talks about how, there are some spiritual ramifications to that, be through soul ties. We get that too. You know what I'm saying? There's soul ties that come with that if we want to look at it from, a more spiritually based view. And the soul ties could actually be something that could linger or carry along throughout the years and throughout time into generations after generation after that. So if I mess with somebody here that may like women, I can have a child a few years later, and my child, as they get older, can have that same tendency without ever being exposed to it. You know what I mean? And these are kind of like ramifications of like what soul ties and stuff like that can do. So a lot of this stuff is deeper than just the sex, and I use the word sex loosely in this whole thing, from the flyers to this whole conversation, because a lot of people stray from it. And if we're going to be adults about it, I really do believe that we really have to be able to be okay with talking about it. I talk to my kids about sex. You know what I'm saying? I think it's important that they know the ramifications of it, the goods and the bads. You know?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So a lot of times in the community, we only talk about sex in the aspect of you can have a baby and you get STD, right? We don't talk about the soul ties that you spoke of that you can gather, you know what I'm saying, or praying those soul ties, away.
Yeah.
And because you're sleeping with multiple people and there's multiple things and multiple pieces of yourself that are being taken away. When you wake up, you don't know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you a question. Let's take it a step further, right?
Okay.
So I know it's a big thing now. People are talking about manifestation, right? Manifesting something. So there's this step. When you reach your peak, right? When you're transmuting energy, let's say you take it around and you have sex, and you're harnessing that energy. When you're harnessing that energy, when you are at your peak, okay, when you are at the borderline of release, you're supposed to be manifesting.
Right.
Now, manifesting, especially if you are with someone that you love, you adore, y'all should be manifesting together.
Right. Right.
And that is the point of you building. You're thinking about the higher things that you want. What is it that I'm wanting? What is it that we're asking for? What are we seeking? Right? But when you're not at that level with someone, you're manifesting for self.
Right.
Do you feel like that's smart when you're not dealing with someone that you love, like to be manifesting during the act?
So manifesting the sexual act is what you're saying?
Like, so
manifesting goals.
Right. A lot of people say, hey, when you're at your climax, you're supposed to be manifesting. You're supposed to be thinking about all the things that you want, all the things that you're going for.
Yeah, you're talking about actually being in the climax in the time, not climax in your goals and your
no, in the act.
Okay, in the act of sex.
Right.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So if there is a sexual act, I think that's like, because I did some looking into that too. That should be understanding with both parties. And again, like, put disclaimer out there, we're not sex professionals or anything like that. We're not sex doctors. We don't, you know what I'm saying? We're just learners. So the thing is, what I've learned through that is that should be something that's communicated with your partner. You know what I'm saying? If we're using this act to manifest things, because everybody, it doesn't matter if you're a believer, non-believer, Hindu, Greek, Jew, whatever. We are all made in the image of God and in His likeness, right? So what that means is we have the power to create. We are created to create. So a procreationist, from a procreation view, like when you have sex, it is intended for the purposes to create. Now, when we climax, in that climax, it has been proven that yes, you can actually hone into whatever it is that you want to manifest in that moment. You know what I'm saying? To be able to manifest that thing if you guys are on one accord, right? So in the moment, at the moment of climax, you solely focus your mind on the things that you want the most and off of the actual feeling of the climax and solely focus on, then that's also another form of manifestation. You know what I'm saying? Is what I've learned. Now, I think again, these are the kind of things that you need to be able to discuss with your partner if that's what we're doing. You know what I mean? Instead of just having senseless experiences, right? Senseless experiences, and we're wasting opportunities, and you know what I'm saying? But we're not, let me throw this out there too, right? We're not advocating for people to just go out here and have this free love session, right? We're just talking about the knowledge of sex. You know what I'm saying?
We're talking about it. So many people do it, right?
Yeah.
And while on a personal level, we might feel like, dang, yeah, you can wait till marriage. I definitely feel that way, right? Do I always operate in that? Definitely not.
It didn't always happen like that.
And that's why we're going to talk about it. We're not going to shy away from it. We're going to hit it head on because so many of us deal with it. And sometimes we get emotions we ain't have when we can't. And we don't understand why we're not really feeling like ourselves. And we waking up and taking stuff home that, again, that come with that we didn't intend to. And sometimes we have other baggage.
Right. Right. And even going back to the whole channeling that energy, all of this leads back into this. You know what I mean? Because once that energy is built up to a certain degree, it flows effortlessly. You
Mm-hmm.
know, what did C is that C Boyd?
Oh
C
yeah,
Boyd?
yeah. Portisha, that's my boo. She had said about manifesting during masturbation work. So I can imagine being on the same page as someone else spiritually would be great. It would be selfish manifesting. You guys aren't on the same page.
Same page. And that is a selfish act. You know what I mean? That's why it needs to be communicated, I think.
Let me ask you a question. Though. Let me ask you a question. So if you get with someone and you just like, hey, it is what it is, right? Aren't you being
Right.
selfish anyway? Because you're both doing your body's disservice, but you're wanting an instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, wouldn't I be selfish?
What? Say that again. Say that again. Say it again. Because
So
everything you said.
if you're not being intimate with someone you're building with, right?
Mhm.
You're just like, hey, we might have this arrangement. It is what it is. At
Okay.
that point, we both being selfish because we're both not trying to do justice to the other person or reach their potential. We're just trying to be on a physical aspect. So
Yeah.
on that physical aspect, if we're already at that point, then should I not be manifesting my own goals at that point?
I mean, if there's a separation in that, then there's a separation. You know what I'm saying? I guess there's just no other way to look at it. So yeah, pretty much. Pretty
So
much.
let me ask you a question. So there's this. So I have this check out The Mystery of Sex by Napoleon Hill. Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, y'all!
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is
yeah. Fire.
40. It's 44 minutes. Okay, I ain't gonna lie to you. It's long. But what you will receive from that, and this is why we have to do a part two, because yes, we tackle the point of what is sex, what is transmutation, but getting into the meat and potatoes of how it works,
Mm-hmm.
actually, and
Mm-hmm.
how productive you can be
Yeah.
withholding yourself, um, or and not saying solely not having sex, not saying that, but it's saying like when you get your body to a point where you cannot have it at certain times to discipline yourself, right? When you discipline yourself, the
Mm-hmm.
different part of your creative palette that you
Yeah.
can reach is something that is far beyond I think what we can imagine. And that's also when you hit that genius point because
Mm.
your mind now, because it's stimulated differently,
Yeah.
it's not even just the sex itself,
Yeah.
but it's the fact that it's being stimulated in a different
Right.
way. And for
Right.
you to know you can't have that physical, right? You can't
Mhm.
just for that right now, right?
Yep.
Um, when you push through, the things that you start tapping into are far beyond. Like some people
Yeah.
work when they are sexually frustrated.
Right.
Some people, especially business wise, y'all used to think about salesmen,
Mm-hmm. Highly sexual people. Yes.
sexual people. Even
Yeah.
down, I had to learn. In listening to this, it was talking about people that touch people. Right, I'm a toucher. And y'all didn't know me. Y'all know, like I'm be like, come on, get this hug. Come on, let's bring it in.
Mm-hmm.
But it even talks about people that touch people. You can transfer energy through touch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People that
Mm-hmm.
are bubbly, people that are salespeople, they say that these people are highly sexual people. So I had to think about it. I was like, might be some truth to that. But it's a thing about being able to harness the energy, and sometimes we do it subconsciously,
Right. Right.
and how you push through. So continue.
Yeah.
This is a
This
whole nother.
stuff is deep, and we have to do a part two. This is more like an introduction to it all. And I'm sorry for the rambling if there was some rambling earlier, but just to piggyback off what you said, and we're going to close out because it's after 5. But to piggyback off what you said, like go back and think about something that I think I said earlier. But if you in all reality, like the stimulation of sex that the body has is not per se a yearning for sex, right? So if it's the body responding to expel that energy into an enrichment of the body, the mind, and the spirit. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. Like going back to the energy, that means that the body has a level of energy that wants to be expelled through some kind of form of action, right? So it's asking for permission in all essence to be transmuted into a creative effort, right? And now if it's ignored, it's then channeled through a less worthy effort, which is what we consider it to be sex. You see what I'm saying? So all of this stuff, like the focus, the drive, the hunger, you will find more people that have been successful. Some of the greatest creators, the world's greatest inventors, a majority of them has gone through this process where they understood the art of sex transmutation, where they've used that sexual drive and that sexual energy and changed it into a productive act to fulfill their goals. And the side piece to that too is a lot of them were influenced by their woman or a woman, right? Because men are hunters by nature. So if we're doing it to impress, and you can find your better self through your pursuit, in channeling into that to be more productive and get more things done, right? Taking that same energy to try to please somebody or in the pursuit of having sex and using that to be more productive is how people are actually becoming going from the dirt to the White House or the big house. You know what I'm saying? So my question in closing is, what if we can walk in this practice like 75 or 80% of the time instead of temporal moments? You know, like what would that look like? What would our life look like? You know, I look at the power of love and the difference between love and sex. Like I found it interesting in my experience is that the majority of people that age gracefully and still look young are very, very loving people. You know what I'm saying? In my experience, I'm not saying all, but I guess I can't speak for everybody, but I know in my encounters with people, the people that have been aging gracefully are people that really love to love, that have been in love and that know how to reciprocate that, you know, not just from their partners, but to the rest of the world, you know, and yeah, we could say it's genetics, but by their nature, that's just who they are, you know? So understanding how to harness this energy and using it. This is the part one, y'all. We're going to do a part two. Definitely got to do a part two. But understanding how to harness and use that and tapping into the power of love on the back end side or even on the front end side to help you out with that. I think that's what it all boils down to, what we need to be in pursuit of to find.
And I want you to know, we're not saying that sex is bad by any means, okay? Right. We're just saying that especially for those that might be, some people say hyposexual or hypersexual, not hypo. Hypo, they don't want to. Hypersexual. A lot of times people see it as a bad thing, right? Like, oh, they might be lymphomatic or there's this or there's that. But sometimes it's your body has this buildup of energy, right? Which is what I'm saying. That sometimes we feel like instantly because our body knows, hey, we can expel this energy through sex. Like, but sometimes it's not your body saying it. Your body's just like, hey, you need to work cross. What are we going to do? Yeah. And so if you don't start transitioning your mind to be like, you know what, well, I might want to do this, but hey, there's something else you can do. Then your mind is going to say, okay, well, let's just go with this cause. Like, it's all right. So, and at that point in time, it might be a less worthy cause because there might be something more beneficial at that time frame that you could do. And especially if you're not on that level of growing and manifesting with someone, and you're just like, oh, I feel this way, so I'm about to call so and so and so. Then at that point, that could be a less worthy cause for you and your being and your growth. But we're going to bring it back because even when it goes down to love, corporate growth and harnessing and realizing that the need or the thought of sex is not a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? Being aroused is not a bad thing. Sometimes you feel like aroused it's bad if you're aroused in certain settings. Right. No, use that energy. Choose to say, all right, well, definitely I might be at work, so I'm not gonna go and whatever. How can I replace that? Right now, whether that somebody might be making a plan for something else, but you're still gonna have to do something else in the meantime. So a lot of times you find yourself being productive. Some people might be like, oh, I'm gonna see my boo when I get off work. And then the rest of the day, they be like, oh, it flew by because, you know, A, B, C, and D. Your thought process was sped up because you knew there was another aim you were trying to get to. So you might be more productive you have been all week. Because you knew, I got to go. I got somewhere to get to.
Yeah. And, you know, I think I heard Mike Tyson said it. Like Mike Tyson, let me say it like this first. My oldest son, for example, he's in Florida. And when he was younger and I used to visit Florida, come see him. When I would walk up to give him that big hug, right? His excitement caused an arousal, right? And not saying that he's like, you know what I'm saying, intimate or anything, but that's just how excited he was in the moment. You know what I'm saying? And that's an energy that as he got older, he learned to control better. You know what I'm saying? But that's a form of what that is. Some people get arousals and get excited by, like Mike Tyson, for example. I want to use him for a big example. I was watching him on the Joe Rogan show, and he was talking about how boxing, training in boxing gives him an arousal. You know what I'm saying? Fighting gives him an arousal. Like that's where his energy is channeled. You know what I mean? Like that's his focus. That's his end all be all. You know what I mean? So whenever he get an opportunity,
it's more than the physical. Like
right.
A lot of people think of sex and we're like, oh, you're aroused, and
Right.
we're not realizing it's so much deeper mentally than the body.
Just what the body is projecting. Right. Right. So this stuff is deep, man. When we have our part 2, we'll be able to go into all of that next weekend. We should be able to do part 2. We'll do an updated flyer and all of that stuff and put it out by Monday, by Sunday, by tomorrow. What's today? Saturday, by tomorrow, Monday. And we'll have it all together. You know what I'm saying? But I'm excited about it. This was dope. This was dope. You know what I mean? And again, like we're not advocating to just go out here and have these orgies and this free sex and you know what I'm saying? That's not what we're saying. We're just saying understand the process and taking that channeling that energy that you would use to pursue sex to now becoming more productive. You know what I mean? And again, that is like my result and my conclusion to my initial claim when I mentioned how we're affected in the Black community because we're not properly educated on the power of sex and how we should be able to harness that energy and becoming more prosperous and successful and applying and completing, like just going down the line and knocking things down line for line. You know what I'm saying? So that's my claim. That's a response to my claim in a nutshell.
Okay. You know we always, we want this to be interactive. We always want you to ask questions.
Yeah.
And I know like some people were asking on my watch party, so I was like typing it in on this side so that we can all build together because until we start having these conversations, we're raising the next generation. So we're going to raise kids to become adults that can't communicate, oh, I sexually feel like this, or I feel like this when I do this type of work, or because some people that major in math and astrology and all that stuff, talking about that just makes them excited. And it comes out in various forms. And it's okay. And as long as you know how to harness that correctly, there's nothing wrong with it. So, the more we talk about it, the more we normalize it, and we can normalize growth in our community as well. And then get out my watch anymore.
I'm just catching up. I haven't had my Facebook open the whole time. But no, this was fun. We'll do part 2 next weekend. Y'all definitely tune in. We have an engagement. I have an engagement at 6:00. If you guys are in the Raleigh, the RTP area, or the Triangle, come out to the Duke Center. I think it's 2B South, 2 South B Street, something 2C, something like that. But look up the Duke.
It's on Lemoi's page.
It's on my page. We're doing a Halloween photo shoot. Me, I was just helping out, but I guess I don't know if I've become a part of this, but I was just helping out because I want the opportunity to network with other photographers and also models because we're doing the picturesque urban store here too. You know what I mean? So hey, we said all that we said so you guys could be empowered, right? And I wanted to do some network with some models. Would like to do a video shoot with a lot of the products that we're doing that I have on the website. And so this is a network opportunity for me. I don't typically do stuff like this, but I thought it'd be a great opportunity to get out there and connect with some people. You know what I'm saying? So I'll be doing a photo shoot along with Candy Tyson. Shout out to Candy Tyson, a phenomenal photographer. And also Fitz Hugh, my man, my winner. Like, shout out to him because he's been holding us down with promoting and cross promoting and really tagging the hell out of this thing and trying to, even with connecting his models that he works with as well. And I've even made some other connects with other people that have modeling groups through all of this. So I think we're going to have a really good turnout this evening. If you guys don't have anything going on, check us out. Come out there and hang out with us from 6 to 8. We'll be at the Duke Center and doing a photo shoot. What is it?
Duke Progress Center,
Duke Progress.
South Street, Raleigh, North Carolina,
Thank you, Bree.
27601, right at the end of Fayetteville Street. You take that all the way down, or if you're coming up on the back side, the McDonald's that is right there by Shaw.
Yeah, right there. Yep, that's it.
If they're it's the play up on the like the kind of gory type of shindig. Y'all go have fun, support each other. We always looking to build. Y'all please don't forget to follow us on our social media handles. Is listed below. And of course, this is your Kool Spot crew. You have Mr. Kool Spot himself, Mr. Lemoi, Desina. Yes, we're always here. We're always going to bring you good stuff. We're going to bring part 2 next week. We'll follow up with our other domestic violence piece next week as well.
Yeah, we're supposed to do that.
It's gonna be next week. We had a part 2. We gotta finish hashing it out.
What's next Saturday? The Saturday is the 31st. Okay.
Actual Halloween.
Oh man, you know what? I have a testimony to share next weekend too, because on the 31st we'll make it. How old is my daughter? 19. 19 years. No, yeah, 19 years from the time that I was incarcerated for something that I didn't do. That's a powerful story in itself. So I'll share that next weekend with you guys, and how that changed my life to becoming the person that I am today. So along with my daughter, having her at an early age too. So we'll talk about all that next weekend. I'll share that in the beginning, get that out the way. But next weekend is a big 19 years of being free from smoking weed and that thug life and all of that.
Baby Tupac.
Okay. Thug life.
Okay, look, y'all learn a lot about Lemoi, y'all. I promise, y'all, it's never a dull moment. I'm always laughing about something. So y'all come back, hang out with us. Let's kick it. Let's build. Come back so we can hit up these questions, these stories, our thoughts.
Yes. Have your questions for the next weekend.
Bring them questions, okay? We'll see you at 4 p.m. next Saturday, 4 p.m. to 5:15. Somewhere up in there. We don't keep you too long, but we have other engagements today. I have a great time, a great day. Be safe. Don't forget that nothing else you are loved. And let's just continue having a great day, okay? We'll catch y'all next time. X backwards, y'all. Let's go.